Hello everybody, I'm Alfred and you're listening to Alfred's daily Q&A live stream podcast. This is a daily Q&A thing that I do. You can type in your questions at any time and I'll be addressing them. And you can also type in questions in the comment section after the live has ended. Even in old lives that have been done, you can type in your comments and I'll be addressing them in future Q&As. That being said, I always have a theme that I go on with and I start with, especially something that is based on trending news or something that is just on my heart. Now, I'd like to talk about Donald Trump. Trump plans to get rid of property tax. And that is a genius thing. People have floated that idea. The whole idea of taxes, getting rid of taxes. Of course, the communists and the socialists and the democratic socialists want to increase taxes, and they believe that the problem of the world is people being rich. They believe that if someone is rich, they must be doing something evil or bad. They look at people making money as the problem of the world, when that is the solution of the world. Making money, being rich, is a result of providing value, because money is value. Why does Jeff Bezos have money? Because he created Amazon. Bill Gates, his money comes from Microsoft that everybody's using, Xbox that everybody's playing. The founders of Google, Sergey and Larry Brin, look at, everybody uses Google. When you create solutions that people use, that people find useful, then you make money. So when you look at rich people, there are people who are being useful. If you fight against the rich, you are fighting against the productive in society. You're fighting against those who have made something useful, often out of nothing. But the socialists and the communists and the democratic society, all these people, it's still the same thing. These people, they hate wealth. They hate seeing somebody else rich. And they think that the answer is to fight someone that is being rich. If you kill all the rich people in the world, you will make the world a better place. If you eliminate all people having money, nobody will have money. All you will create is an apocalyptic situation, great poverty across the board. It's like getting rid of all the star players. You get rid of Michael Jordan, you get rid of LeBron James, you get rid of all the greats in basketball. It wouldn't make basketball better. It will just make basketball suck. If you get rid of the high performers, everybody's waking up every morning to do something to make money. The millionaires and the billionaires are excelling in that. Even in cases where you say, oh, they inherited the wealth. In the few cases of those who inherited wealth, keep in mind that majority of people who inherit wealth lose it within the third generation. It was the introduction of trust funds. And keep in mind, those who have trust funds, there are ways that people can squander their money, even though they have trust funds. And there have been occasions where trust fund managers have gone to jail because they ripped off or they fraudulently used money in a trust fund. That's something you have to know. It's just like a bank has shut down. If you look at, like, for example, I'm in Nigeria. If you use certain Nigerian apps, you will see they will say insured by so and so government body up to 1 million. That means if you kept 10 million or 200 million in your bank accounts, and the bank, something happens, the bank mismanages all the money that they are handling, and the bank shuts down or whatever, what the government will give back to you is only 1 million. So what happens to the 199 million that you had? It's gone forever. But you kept your money in the bank. And that is legal. That money is gone forever. Because it's only 1 million. It's only insured up to 1 million. So the fact that somebody comes from a billionaire family, doesn't mean that that family and their lineage is set for life, for all eternity, and their descendants and their descendants. No. The fund that they keep their money in can rip them off, might rip them off. And in the occasion of they don't, they could be irresponsible and understand that the trust funds were created to prevent the inevitable. Because before the Rockefeller family, and the Rothschilds, no person that was in the 1%, no person that was in the top class of wealth maintained it for 3 generations. You may be a financial genius, you may know a lot about money and make money, but what's the guarantee that your son will also be hardworking? Especially when people are born into wealth, they tend to be lazy and they don't have the drive that made their first ancestor that broke from poverty to wealth. They don't have that drive. They don't have that intelligence a lot of times. So they don't, because of that lack of hustle, they do not do it. So the wealth goes down. Then there's the issue of gambling. A lot of wealthy people, when they get hooked on gambling, women, and alcohol, have destroyed families who have money and made them poor. When you look throughout history, families that have money, all you need is to have a son or a grandson that is a gambler. All you need is to have a son or a grandson that is a womanizer. All you need is to have a son or a grandson or a great-grandson that is an alcoholic. And that money, the family wealth starts, it's gone. There's a reason why they banned royals from gambling. In the UK, the royal family, they are banned from gambling. Why are they banned from gambling? Because it created a situation where people were gambling away cities and nations and districts and counties, where one royal will gamble. And next thing they know, now the Duke of Success is now the Duke of this other area because he won a gambling match. So this person has lost. And when he comes, he could bring in whatever changes and kick out all the tenants. He owns the land. So things were getting haywire and it caused a lot of problem. So they banned the royals from gambling. The king then banned till today. No member of the royal family is allowed to gamble. So it goes without saying. You may say how it is enforced, but I've told you the history of it and why it started, why that ban was placed, So doing that, the royals have their own rules. If a member of the royal family gambles and they gamble and it gets to the leadership of the family, that person could get punished in whatever way, perhaps kicked out or whatever within the royal family. They will keep it within themselves and handle it within themselves. But it was done to stop all the chaos of gambling away entire counties, entire cities. So the reality of the matter is that a lot of people who are born into wealth, they don't maintain it past a third generation. That's one of the reasons why trust funds were created. So even if your son is an irresponsible idiot that is a drug addict, the trust fund is just dishing out, you have this for the end of the month, you have this, you have this, you have this, and there are terms that can get you kicked off the trust, and then it's passed on to the grandson. So it is one guy that becomes rich, creates a trust fund, and then it's a trust fund that is managing the family. So even if you look at that situation, the family is not necessarily getting richer, and the future of the family is dependent on who is managing the trust fund. The growth, the future, because what if the person is managing the trust fund, the trust fund was founded before the age of the internet, and the person managing the trust fund did not invest in Google, did not invest in, the internet revolution. We now see a decline in, even if they are maintaining what was there before, the family is no longer up there. So a lot depends on the intelligence of who is managing the trust fund. And since that the recipients of the trust funds are idiots, there are ways that the person managing the trust fund can start their own company and partner it to the trust fund and basically be using the trust fund to be funding their own company. So there are so many things around it. So if your children are not as smart and as savvy, business savvy as you, and your grandchildren and their great-grandchildren are not business savvy as you, that wealth is not going to be maintained. So that goes without saying. I'm just explaining to you something about wealth and generational wealth, because a lot of people think, a lot of people hate the rich so much. And it's important for you to get a copy of my book, Money Grows on Trees. You can get it from books.alfred.vip. It's free. All my books, my music, what I put out is free. I make money from businesses and other things, So when you read that book, you understand that everything is money. Everything is money. There is not, somebody else making money does not subtract from you. Lack is a lie from the devil. Lack doesn't exist the way you think it does. That somebody made billions of dollars does not mean that there's no money for anybody else to make. If someone made billions of dollars, that means they created something that is valuable to generate billions. It was either valuable enough to one person or entity that valued it at $1 billion or more, or it was valuable to billions of people. So even if each person paid only $1 for it, now the company is worth billions because of the number. Somebody once said there are basically 3 ways to make $1 million from a company and from products. You can either sell one product for $1 million. So you just need one customer. Or you can sell a product that is now number 2. You can sell a product for $1, but to 1 million people. Now you have $1 million. Now the third option, which is what many people go for, is to strike a balance between the two. And using the measurement of demand and supply, you now get the appropriate price that is going to get you the equilibrium of the largest number of buyers at the highest price that you can offer the products. So what is the highest price that I can go to of these products that will get me a very high amount of number of customers, that if I go above it now, the number of customers start decreasing. So that equilibrium is what you're trying to hit. So that's the third way to get to $1 million out of a product or a business. So that being said, you have to understand it. Those who are creating business and somebody that is making money is doing it because they are producing value. In my book, Money Grows on Trees, I explained that money is thank you. That's what money is. Money is thank you. If you don't have any money, nobody's telling you thank you. Money is a tangible thank you. Why do you give the grocery food? Thank you for giving me the oranges. Thank you for giving me the bananas. When you buy fuel, what are you saying? Thank you for giving me fuel. When you take transport, thank you for transporting me from here to here in a tangible way. Then the amount is your pain is, what is that value to you? What is the amount, the measured value of the being transported from point A to point B? Is it $10? Is it $20? That is what you will agree to pay. What is the measured value? Money is thank you. Even in the darkest corners of commerce, if someone kidnaps somebody and they have to pay ransom, what is that ransom? Thank you for not killing me. Thank you for not killing my relative. That is what that money is. Thank you. In every single situation, even if you go to a doctor, somebody goes to a doctor that they need a heart transplant. Thank you for giving me a heart transplant, or thank you for giving me this opportunity to live, longer and, get this heart transplant. So that person is paying for a thank you, for a service, for something that they want. So in every situation, money is thank you in tangible form. So if you have no money, you are producing no value for anybody. Nobody's telling you thank you. Nobody has a reason to tell you thank you. And this is the problem with hatred for the rich. You are hating those who are creating reasons for people to say thank you. You are demonizing and attacking people who have given a large number of people the opportunity to say thank you. Amazon, everybody in America is using Amazon. on a daily basis. That is the whole American population saying thank you. They want to buy this product, they want to order this product, and look at the crazy people, the people that are complaining about, oh, why is Jeff Bezos rich? If Amazon going to make more money this year than it made last year, the way you see Amazon, do you think it's going to make more money in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time? If that is so, why haven't you bought stock in Amazon? Also, do you know that you can sell your own products on Amazon? That is the whole core of its business structure. It lets everybody in America an opportunity to sell on Amazon. They started it, before Konga, and the Jumai. For those of you who are familiar with the African market, Amazon is the one who really started that open marketplace structure. Before it was just Walmart, which is owned by the company, and it is just Walmart. But now you can sell your own products on a platform that is bigger than Walmart, which is Amazon. Why don't you have anything you're producing that you're selling on Amazon rather than hating Amazon? You refuse to invest in Amazon. You refuse to buy stocks in Amazon. You refuse to sell your own products on Amazon. You refuse to start your own Amazon. Because Amazon just said it's just website and app. Can't you start your own website? Can't you start your own app? Now there is AI that can help you create your own app. So why can't you start your own and create value that people would like better than Amazon? What is it that Amazon is not offering that you can offer? But no, you want to hit the rich. Understand one truthful thing that people don't realize. If someone is making money, if you see a company that is doing something, no matter what it is, you can duplicate it, add a little improvements, market it properly, and you will make as much money or even more money than that company, or even beat that company. That is the truth about a lot of companies. If you study a lot of companies, they are just copying what another company did, but they do it better or faster or cheaper. There are some industries, all you have to do is make it cheaper. Copy the same thing that somebody else that is already successful is doing it. Just make it cheaper. Some is not enough to make it cheaper. You have to make it better, because the customer base is more interested in quality. They put a lot of weight in quality. Look at China. Before China became the powerhouse of the world, China was known for making inferior products. They were just making cheaper products that were not better quality. Cloning what everybody is doing. Now they are on the level where they can make better and cheaper. So they are providing the quality, they are making it cheaper, and they are also fast with making it, but they are not as fast with delivering. When they get that fast, very fast in delivering, that is going to be an issue. In other words, when somebody in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, plans to order something from Lagos, and he's ordering something from Lagos, it will take more time for the product to get to him than if he had ordered it from China that day, which is coming, and which is very possible. As a matter of fact, it's even possible to create a situation where somebody let us say they are in mainland Lagos, they want to go to the highland to buy something, but if they order it online from China, it can reach them faster. That day can come, and that day is not here now, but that day can come. But what happens when that day comes? We now have a situation where no company is really local, because now your competition is global. You are not just competing with the supermarket next to you or the supermarket across the street. You are now competing with the supermarket on the other side of the world. Delivery can get that fast. So all those things, you have to look at it. So I want to address the hatred of the rich. That has to end. But back to what Trump is doing with the getting rid of property tax. That's a good thing, because the reality, I've talked about this many times. If there is property tax, nobody owns property. If you buy land, and then for you to, if you miss one property tax statement, payment, you lose the land. That means you don't own the land. That means you are basically a renter. It means that all the people that are deceiving themselves that are landlords are not landlords. You are renters. You are renting from the government. You don't own it because you have to pay property tax. And if you don't pay, the government seizes it back. So it was never your land in the first place. You are just deceiving yourself that it is your land. It is not your land. And that creates a problem. And, this is something that wasn't in Nigeria, but certain people are still bringing it because I know, like in Lagos, there are certain parts of Lagos that their property tax, being put on people. And it's sad. And it's also a way to kick off people off land in Nigeria that is well, because there are some people that are land rich, but not bank account rich, paper rich, cash rich. They don't have cash. They have inherited land that is worth millions. It has been in their family for years. And I'm talking even in Canada and America. But the income that they are making, the money they are making, in their bank account and on a daily life, their standard of living is way lower. So if you look at the property, which is all that they have, that is an asset, it may be worth millions. But it is in a position where, perhaps it's in a residential area, so they can't use it for commercial purposes. And at best, they can only lease it out or, rent it out. And then the government has laws on what the rent can be. So even if they are taking ditch, they take rent from it, they are not going to become rich. The only option is for them to sell it, for them to get some money. But it's the only asset that they have. So there are people who are land rich, but cash poor. Even in Canada, in UK and America. Now when you now burden these people with land tax, with property tax, they now have to lease it out and then pay tax from what the tenant pays them. So they're in a perpetual cycle of poverty. Even though they are land rich, they are in poverty because of the cash flow and the restrictions that have been put there. Now, Trump ending it is a good thing. It's the perfect thing. He says he plans to end it. Trump is somebody that he's a man of his word. If he says he plans to do something, he wants to do something, he's going to do it, or at least try to do it. So and that is one thing that many people have missed, and people need to understand. People don't understand history. Emperor Napoleon was the first democratically elected emperor, and that sounds like a contradiction. How can somebody be a democratically elected emperor? But that is the fact. The people wanted him. Why? Because he was the first leader in a long time in France to tell the truth. Emperor Napoleon will come and say, look, at least to the French people, his people. He will tell them, look, I want to conquer this, this, this. And I will give this. He allowed people answer his own name. He's the one that built the leaf. He will give, you have free this, free that, free this. And he kept to his word. If a soldier, for example, if he got to a village and they surrendered, the terms, they abided by it. If any soldier disobeyed, he commanded the battalions, that the captain should bring that soldier out to the front and shoot him in front of all the people. Now, today, somebody may say that was harsh. But what was the state of things before Napoleon? Things were crazy. You read about Maximilian Robespierre. This was after the French Revolution. Everywhere went crazy because that was the fall of the French monarchy. Everywhere was crazy. They were killing people left and right, beheading all the royals. All the French royals, they were just beheading. Children, adults, old, everybody that has royal blood, they were just beheading left and right. And then they struggle for power. Because power will always be power. Don't mind any person tells you that if you kill all the rich people, now everybody will be equal. No. There will now be new people among the poor people who want to become the new rich people and the new dictators. So, and it will now be, because there's no structure, it will be a struggle and a war, and there will be random killings. So during that era, there was a lot of ridiculous killings left, right, and center in France. France was known as the place where you cannot sleep, with your eyes closed. You had to sleep with one eye open. That was what they said it in French, but that was how France was. the early stages of the Gestapo, where you have people from the government that will come at night and just cut away women's husbands or whatever, and they never see them again, started during that era. Everywhere went crazy. But Napoleon came and brought stability by being honest. He used a lot of violence and he told you he was going to do it. And, for the first time, they saw a politician that was telling you, it was a matter of the devil we know is better than the devil we don't know. It's like this politician, yes, at least he tells the truth. With him, we know what we are facing. So Napoleon he calmed all the craziness in France by being an honest dictator. And I'm saying this to show you the value of honesty. Even though he was a dictator, people were like, at least with this guy, we know who we are dealing with. What he says, he keeps to his word. If he says do this and everybody is safe, no more this, no more that, we now have peace, we can now sleep well at night. And Napoleon kept his word to the French people, even though he was a dictator. So I'm just showing you the power of an honest leader. People finally have that calm that, even though this may be bad, at least with this guy, unlike the other people, we know where we are going. So that is one strength that people miss out, when they do not talk about Emperor Napoleon. So in the case of Trump has an advantage, whether anybody that people are not saying. He's a man of his word. He says, I want to deport every illegal. He goes after it. What he says, I want to build the wall, he goes after it. You can try to stop him, but you can see everybody. He's the only politician in American politics that what he says, he goes after. Other politicians are making promises. They will make promise, deliver nothing. But Trump, when he says, this is what I want to do, he goes for it. So with him, he's the best option. Everybody else is a liar. Everybody else has shown themselves to be people who make promises and don't keep them. And this is a lesson to politicians everywhere. There's a power of people being able to look at you and say, whatever, at least this guy, with him, we know where we are going. So that being said, with the property tax, if he does that, that would be great. Nigeria is becoming a country where there are all the evil things that the Democratic Party is doing that is not working. They are bringing it to Nigeria. Nigerian, especially the Tinubu administration, is doing it and thinking it's a good thing. Like, look at Abuja, property tax. That's terrible. When you do that, you now create a situation where nobody really owns anything. Nobody really is rich. And people will now start investing in other countries because all investment opportunities are in competition with other investment opportunities. Why would you invest $1 million? If you had $1 million, why would you invest in Nigeria, where the government can come and say your land is not your own at any time? Like happened with that landmark resort in Lagos, because the owner is Igbo, and they just came and took away his property by the beach and say that he did not get approval, when the previous administrations had given him all the approval in the world. All the banks have done the due diligence and have said, yes, this guy is legal and legit, and he has operated for years, built the biggest resort in West Africa. And a lot of people, because he was Igbo, people who hate Igbo were okay with it. And Tinubu broke it down in the name of he wants to build a transatlantic road, whatever, from Lagos to Calabar. And then that route that he used, that Landmark Hotel was on, that he, Landmark Resort was on, that he destroyed, he's not using it again. When he went further, he made fiber optic cables. So he's now using another route. So all the destruction of Landmark Resort was a waste. All the business attached to it and feeding from it were all gone for nothing. So when you look at what is happening in Nigeria, somebody will say, why will I invest in Nigeria when I can invest elsewhere? There are people who have the access to invest in Ghana, especially now with the internet and with apps. With an app like Bamboo, you can invest in American companies, even though you're a Nigerian citizen. There are now ways for, apps like Authority Inc. and all of that, that have made it possible for a Nigerian to start a company in America, even though they have not granted that Nigerian American visa. You can start a company in the UK from Nigeria, legal company, and even be paying taxes in the UK and all of that in different countries. When this expands and explodes, who will be investing in Nigeria that is in Nigeria? Look at the Nigerians that have money. The Nigerians that have money now in this age, especially post the lockdowns, 2020, their money is coming from outside. All these influencers, they are being paid by America. If you're making your money from Instagram payments or from YouTube streams or whatever, live streaming on Twitch, all this, your money is basically coming from the American economy. That is where you're being paid from. Those who have money, the Burna Boys and the Davidos, are they making all that money from streams coming from Nigeria or from outside? The streams coming from outside. Are they making all that money from performing in nightclubs in Nigeria or performing in stadiums abroad? It's performing in stadiums abroad. So their money is coming from outside. So where is the money generated in Nigeria? So Nigeria needs to make changes. When it comes to taxes, I'll say a nation only needs sales taxes and then maybe capital appreciation taxes on capital appreciation mechanism and platforms like banks. That is the only tax. Take away income tax, take away property tax, take away all the different other types of tax. When you keep taxing and taxing and taxing people, you're just increasing poverty and you're not helping anybody. And all this money that is being taxed is being stolen. So what is the use? Even if the government of Nigeria raises $100 trillion from taxes, what is the use? It's not going to improve Nigeria because all that money is going to be stolen by the politicians and sent to their bank accounts in the UK and in America and in all these foreign offshore places, and it will be helping those nations' economies. So what is the use? So when it comes to a country like Nigeria, which can learn from Trump and from other things around the world, you have to eliminate all these crazy taxes because people are taxed over and over and over again. You pay tax, VAT, when you buy a product. Then you now have to pay tax for the property of the house you live in. You now have to pay tax, when you call, every single thing. Transfer money from one account to the other. Every single thing. All this tax is crazy. It is not the key. It is not the road to prosperity for the people. A president who simply does this thing that I've said, eliminate all the taxes. Just leave sales tax. Whenever a sale is made, money is generated for the government. And then capital appreciation platforms or product tax. So services that are provided by banks or investment houses. So like if someone buys shares in a company, whether the shares goes up or goes down, by that sale, there's a percentage of it that is taxed, which is already done now. So you leave those things there, those types of tax. If someone keeps money in a bank, and it's, a money earning bank accounts, the bank is trading with that money. So that falls on that sales tax, because when you keep money in a bank, the bank is using that money to give out loans and all of that. So the bank is taxed for that. So the appreciation, the money as the bank is making money. Anytime somebody makes money, the government also makes money, and that is through sales. Or if someone stores their money in one place, on a platform or an engine or a product, a financial product that increases in value, the government gets a cut, at most 15%, 15% or 10% of that cut. That is the only taxes that are needed. And that will fund everything. There's no need for a nation not to have free schools. Nigeria can have free schools. One of the reasons why such things will look impossible is because Nigerians are not smart enough to assess what does it take to actually educate a student. Rather, they leave it to people who just want to monetize owning schools. So the people set their prices. And that's the same thing with the nonsense that Tinubu did when he give out student loans. When you give out student loans, when the government gives out student loans, it increases school fees. That is what happened in the US. We've seen that. So it's already tested. We already see what happens. And that's what happened in Nigeria. That when Tinubu announced his student loan program, all the universities just increased their prices. Now a lot of people cannot afford schooling in Nigeria. Because that's what happened. You did not measure what is actually the cost, of educating a student. And then let there be trade bodies that put price stops on certain things. Certain things cannot be above certain prices. Since there's no way to monitor and regulate prices, there will always be problem. And that is why we have a lot of artificial inflation in Nigeria. Fuel price increases, then transport and everything else increases. When the fuel price decreases, those prices of other things else does not decrease. It's supposed to decrease, but it doesn't decrease. Rather, the next time fuel price increases, every other thing increases again. Even if the fuel price comes down to where it was before, the price of other things don't go down. That is now artificial inflation. You cannot attribute that sustained inflation to the price of fuel, because the price of fuel has come down, but it does not translate. This is what keeps happening and happening and happening because there's no price regulation. And that is the same thing. I knew that when Tinubu was going to announce, when he did that student loan thing, I knew that problem is going to come because that's what happened in America. So all these things, right now we are in a stage with AI and the technology that we have. There should be government-owned schools that are purely online, that are free. And AI can teach students and can mark students' exam. So with that, all you need is to buy the software and the AI program and just leave it. Because by the way, the same books that we are reading in school today, in Nigerian schools, are the same books that our ancestors read 3 generations, 5 generations ago. The same Ugo C. Ugo, the same PM Okeke. It is the same textbooks that is being used. So you're not even changing anything, but create an online platform and give people the ability to post their own tutorials, their own whatever, but it has to be free, and then it is monetized via ads or product sales of mesh and other things. So, if people want to get involved, but on the core, already free programs, it can be done. And then, with AI, it does the testing. Imagine someone doing, you look at your phone and you take an oral test with it being recorded and the AI monitoring you. How can you cheat? You can't cheat. A lot of companies, a lot of certain schools like University of the People and schools that are using ProctorU, they have a situation where people take exams no matter where they are in the world with a webcam. So the webcam is on you, it's recording you 24/7, and another person is at the other end monitoring you. Now the AI can do the monitoring. So you can just be taking it. Anybody can take a test anywhere in the world, an exam. So the truth of the matter is that schools, as we know them, have ended. It's not necessary. The structure of schools that is a building you go to. Your cell phone can be a school. All the tutorials needed. By the way, all the people that are learning things, that are building apps and games and all of these things, these are not what they learned in school. Many of the people that are doing a lot of great things today, that is not what they learned in school. This is things that they learned after they finished school and they got their degree. Then they self-taught it, via tutorials or the board books or whatever. And they read themselves at home. They taught themselves. They bought a lot of teaching programs and DVDs available. They got them, and then there are courses available online, and they were able to learn and do what they are doing now. So education and school system needs to move into the new century. So with that alone, you don't even need $1 more of funding for the educational system in all of Africa to make education free for all of Africa. When you combine the smartphone with a good app and website engine and AI, when you combine these factors together, we have complete free education for Africa. The only area that might be questionable with doing it online is medicine. People doing operations. But AI can advance to the point where there will be like even with Oculus, the Google glasses or the Facebook glasses, virtual reality glasses, someone can learn how to do an operation. But of course, that person will need to later go somewhere where they can do it, on a actual real life um, human being. But the technology is there for us to start going in this direction and to make education $0 in cost for the people. So all these things are there. We need young people and people who are visionaries, to people who do things that have never been done before. Not all these old guards that are always running for president in Nigeria and we come with their old-fashioned way of thinking, and all they have to offer is, they just come to steal money and to distribute bags of rice. So that being said, make sure to check out Alfred of VIP for more. Thank you and God bless you.
Say this prayer audibly if you have not given your heart to Jesus Christ. Dear God, I believe in my heart that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came, died, and was raised from the dead to save me. I confess Him, Lord, over my life and ask you to give me your Holy Spirit to live within me. I receive your Spirit by faith and thank you for I am now born again. In Jesus' name, amen. If you just prayed that prayer, congratulations, you're now a Christian. Go to alfred.vip and get resources that will help you with your work with God.